Good evening and welcome to viewers for this Gyan Darshan program on engendering new media or gender and cyberspace. It is important over here to understand that this is part of the PG Diploma in Women's and Gender Studies as well as a Master's in Women's and Gender Studies, especially block of MWG 103, Constructing Gender through Arts and Media. Block 4, and this is unit 18. In this unit, basically, we will be talking about what exactly are the gendered roles or gender stereotyping in new media technologies across different forms of the cyberspaces that is available to human beings, that as we normal common man or layman operates the new media. And also we'll try to talk about the gender and crimes that takes place in the cyber world, as well as the cyber laws that are made under the Indian Penal Code system. So let's begin. We will start with gender and new media, where we will be talking about 4 things, that is most importantly cyber relationships, commodification and objectification. We'll be talking about dating applications and OTT platform. So to begin with, let's see how the cyber world once upon a time started. It is very important for us to understand the cyber world once upon a time. 30 years back, when the cyber world came in our country, it was almost gender neutral. It is supposed to be thought that gender neutrality ever could be seen was in the cyber world. Whereas in the real life, there was nothing like neutrality between 2 genders or more than 2 genders, binary or non-binary genders. But what is seen in those times back in the 90s was that very important thing when cyber world became very quite on a vogue or trend during that period, with the people was mainly about a culture, a sense of anxiety, or a culture of anxiety emerged among many people who were using the cyber world. Now, very importantly, what we notice over here in India is the emergence of these things. This cyber world has created a certain kind of ability among us to define ourselves as intellectuals, or define ourselves into a little more smarter, or little more what you called like street smart, or more to be fashionable. Like there are theories to talk about these kind of extension that happens that impacted our personality also. And it is very important over here, if we market this trend of the cyberspace that has been utilized in the 90s to the cyberspaces today, in today's generation, when we talk about new media, we see that there are huge differences between those days and today's world. In those days, probably an individual space was important, an individual domain was important for many of us who work on the gender spaces. We understand that the individual spaces, or what we call the sense of privacy, was not there that much during the 90s, because computers or desktops were more common, and gradually the laptops entered by the turn of the century, and the laptops gradually gave us a bit of privacy, but not that much. People could intervene on the screen that we are trying to see into it. And that is where the privacy got into a different kind of form. In the 90s, probably, when the sense of anxiety was emerging, simultaneously there was also a certain thing called boredom or ennui. Like this kind of sense of boredom being generated has created a sense of negligence or unutilizing or less of utilization of the cyber world. Therefore, many people could not know what exactly is an email, or how to chat in those boxes that were given in the 90s, early 90s. That was very important, because learning about computer and having computer literacy those days in 90s was very, very significant and considered to be innovative. Today, probably it is not needed anymore. And today, therefore, the changes that has happened is the sense of privacy went very high, where the culture of anxiety has gone down. Therefore, the sense of privacy getting higher also led it to many things of explorations. The explorations of cyber world into a form what we call today is as Interestingly, what we call today is the cyber world is more into our life than it was before. Now, why do we say that? We say it because the space that is created for the purpose of it is not to create only privacy, it is also to interact. And people have become more expressive today in communicating in the virtual world. People do not hesitate much to talk about when we say that there are cyber world are dangerous, or cyber world is these, that. But people do not hesitate to put a hand forward to talk to an unknown person. So the divide that we were seeing long back has reduced down a lot in the sense the digital divide, that if you think of India, the digital divide has gone down very, very low. Why we say in one aspect of it, that is the location aspect, in the sense like the rural and urban divide has literally gone down even in today's generation. If you go and you see that today, most of the people, most of the household, forget about laptops, computers, they don't need anymore because they all have what we call smartphones. And smartphones is interestingly created a separate kind of identity. And that separate identity becomes very, very important because it's always, quote unquote, a thrill innovation is always been seen in the changing the traditional values. Today, if you do not have what we call Facebook account or an Instagram account, you are not traditional. You are not into the norm. That is the shift that has happened. So therefore, that divide that we were talking about, that intersectionality of location that we were talking about, the urban and the rural, that has gone down. Whereas the other social inhibitions have helped to groom all of us into what we look for in the cyber world, that is relationship. Now, relationship has played a big role. Now, whether this was back in 90s with the chat rooms, where you just have a personal space of non-normative or normative conversation in the social networking sites with a particular group of people was there. Today, that space is so much stringent and so much, not only stringent, I would say that's a negative word to be using. If you think the other way around, it is more positive, it is more emancipatory. Why it is emancipatory? Because there are lots of genders interactions between. And there are lots of things which will look beyond what is called relationship or what we call in the studies of gender and sexuality. Now, this is where the technological advancement came. As the technological advancement changed those rooms into domains of social networking sites like Facebook. And when it was launched, the social networking site, mainly it was Orkut, Outpersonals, and etc., along with Facebook. But all of those Orkut, Outpersonals, male domain, female domain, all of them have somewhere got lost. But Facebook continued. Facebook almost continued today for 22 years, in India especially. Now, this whole dynamics that we are seeing has got changed with this Facebook. Why I'm saying it? Because it divided not only region, not only location, it also divided. The division that we have been seeing between classes, between races, between regions, between ages, all has diffused. All have started diffused and created an universal identity. I would rather say it's an universal identity because these all become so much prevalent that today, when you have a smartphone, it already gets installed. Pre-installed factory installations are already there of these social networking sites, what we call as mobile applications. Now, that is where you do not need to go to any website or you do not need to go to any domain or chat rooms, but rather in your smartphone, you start using it. And that's where the beauty of it lies. The beauty of it lies also in the terms of why I was talking about classes, because friends are all across in your virtual world. If you think yourself to be a preferred class or in a better elite class, you are interacting with someone who is from maybe from a different class or a lower class than what you are. Or say for the race, if you want to interact with a white person or a foreigner sitting in America and you and the USA, United States, or someone from the Japan or from someone from Japan, you can always interact and you can be friendly in the virtual world. You can share interactions. I'm not talking about all the countries across. So forget about all the countries. Wherever you want to specify, you can get interactions. So that's how the race has gone apart. The second thing that becomes important over here is the age. Now, you have a preferred or prerogative to choose what kind of age do you want to be in your Facebook as friends list. Now, who can be there? That is what is very important, and that creates the privacy, and that's where the smartphones started playing a big role. Therefore, what we call this, the mobile applications that is coming pre-installed also comes with simultaneously very interesting that the AI, the artificial intelligence that today it is becoming so important, that artificial intelligence long back had already been algorithm in such a way that in a Facebook, if you think or if you are discussing with someone, say for example, organic food, so you'll see that there are advertisements which are popping up from the companies of or the .coms of websites of organic food. Or say, for example, some kind of books you want to talk about, or vacations you want to talk about. You want to talk about news, you want to talk about entertainment, movies, groceries, beauty, anything. For everything, the advertisement comes in. And gradually, during the COVID period, what happens is the division that we were talking about had a different kind of change. The intersectionality that of class that we were talking about had a different shift. Now over here, what happens is between the luxury or the premium to that of common. Now for example, the factory installed shopping applications that comes in, whether it is Amazon or Flipkart, it is seen that are you using the premium or are you using the prime. That is very important because the other shopping apps that we can think of like ShopClues or Snapdeal or any other, they become redundant to you. And that's how you divide it. And this division is so important that the account holders carry a sense of what we called anxiety, carries a sense of eliteness. Now, this eliteness is how? Because if you are a Prime member or if you are a Premium member, you will think of not of Amazon, but you'll think of Tata Click instead of Tata New. Or you might think of something else. Say, for example, you are interested in films. So you'll think of Netflix rather than having a Sony Live. Or say Z5. This is very important. Why? Because the digital divide, what we think has reduced or diffused, has taken a different turn now. Now, over here, I like to talk about one very important aspect. To climb up the ladder, what the whole corporate world or the capitalist world is playing with our minds, what they did is previously back in 90s, 80s and 90s, what was very important was what we call that buying a house was a big thing. So therefore, people who could not accumulate money, banks came up with what we think of as loans. And loans were given on equated monthly installment basis, what is known as, in a very colloquial language, EMIs. Now, only house was given. Later on, by the turn of the centuries, cars started coming. Cars, bikes, all this started coming. Motorbikes I am talking about. Now, they started coming. Now, today, standing over here, Financial Express comes out that 67% of the loan takers, the people who have taken loans, are for personal loans or consumer loans. Why? Because they want to climb up status. For example, they want to buy an iPhone, maybe the latest one, or they want to buy a MacBook, maybe the latest one, or they might want to go to a foreign vacation, say for example Mauritius or Paris or London, somewhere, wherever it is. Now this is where a group started that we were talking about, the chat rooms in the 90s, that shifted into a form of groups. Like you have already, like those who are iPhone users, they will have a group called iPhone users group. or 1+ users group. Now, this is very interesting because we simultaneously see many things with it, that the relationship that we are building up is on the basis of class now, again. More than urban, rural, it is more of a class. If you are an iPhone user, then only you are a friend with another iPhone users. That's how the whole thing picks up. And the whole culture of anxiety shifted to something called arrogance. A sense of arrogance is the new norm today. So therefore, in this setting, what becomes important is having social media account. As I was telling before, that having social media account becomes so important, like having a WhatsApp, not only WhatsApp is already pre-installed. Having a Twitter account, or what it's called today is X account, or Instagram accounts. Long back, before the corona, we had TikTok, if you remember. Now, TikTok, why was TikTok very popular among the young people? The main reason is they helped you to upload videos, creating reels, creating stories through the reels from all spheres of life, all things you can think of. And therefore, the people who were, and their main intention of creating these videos or the stories were to draw attentions of or increasing followers and likes. This is what became the main motive. That is the traditional norm. So therefore, someone who is opening up an Instagram account, if they don't have a blue tick, or the Twitter or the X with a blue tick, then you do not belong to that club. You do not belong to that premium group. That's where the whole thing started. And therefore, to increase the what we called the followers or likes in one or each photographs or videos or small stories, it becomes so important that objectification and commodification of your own body has become the trend now. That's the modus operandi today of creating Instagram reels or short videos for YouTube or Facebook. Therefore, over here, why I'm talking about this, because recently the trend, especially just before the corona hit, like 5-6 years back, till now, post-corona, it becomes so important that in corona times, you must have seen many of the Instagram accounts or the Twitter accounts started giving you lectures on health. There are so many videos, so many account holders who are lecturing or delivering important traits to make yourself healthy. And therefore, what happened with the emergence of this kind of manifestations of objectification, body was one such thing. It was long back thought of. I would not say long back, maybe a decade back was thought of that the whole body depends on the perception or the visualization of the onlookers. So that gaze, what we call, has changed, has shifted so much that the gaze has shifted to self now. It's not narcissism. It is not the self-centric, but it is about the self-observations. You think of your body, you think of colors. Maybe the color I am wearing today, you might be thinking, why is sir wearing pink? Maybe the sir's main intention, because sir comes from school of gender, that's why sir is wearing pink. Now, these are not the trend of that what is thought to be, but that's how the whole issue started. And therefore, like, objectification became so important that you pay attention to minute details of your bodies, what you wear, what you eat. And Instagram, immediately the followers starts increasing, the like starts increasing, both patriarchally as well as gender way. Normative gender structure. Now, why I'm saying that? Because you see that males with bodies, muscles, toned or athletic are started gaining popularity. Boys who are good looking or you're filtering themselves with good looks started gaining popularity. Similarly, girls with slim body or hourglass figure started playing. The whole idea then shifted. How does this shift? The whole idea shifted to the having a perfect body. The notion of the physical body also began then. Therefore, the gaze that we were talking about was outsiders. Now it is insiders' view, that you yourself become voyeuristic. You yourself derive pleasure by looking at your own body. So some form, somewhere, it's not of boredom, not of anxiety, but more of a sense of culture of self-narcissism. I'm using that word purposely over here. The reason is because the display of or portrayal of such objectification leads to the commodification of your own self. For example, if I don't know how many of you are using Instagram, but you are I'm sure you are popular, you know this name by the popular name called Urfi Javed, whose account is at the rate of Urfi71. Similarly, there are males with like Yushu Malhotra or Sudhir Agarwal, or there are several names which we think of, and that those accounts are basically what they are trying to do is they are trying to put forward the best that can be thought of in the normative way. And the other important fact is these are talking about body structures, the physical body. Simultaneously, there is another school of thought which is talking about body shaming. So body shaming is not there anymore because that's where the gender neutrality comes in. Now, gender neutrality, why I'm talking about gender neutrality? In the sense that the body shaming has almost diffused. People started liking not only the dark complexion people, but also short-haired people, also a plump or obese person. This is how it is undergoing. The shaming has also undergone a lots of change. The whole idea of theorist Naomi Wolf, when she talks about beauty is on the eyes of beholder, or the gaze, the way one looks, shifted automatically. Now, why is all this played? Why is all this displayed all the time? That is what is very important for us to think of. Now, when we think of this, we also simultaneously think of one important aspect, that is the OTT platform or dating applications. First, let's talk about the dating applications. Now, when we talk about dating applications, we put forward the best we can think of. Now, when we think of the best dating applications that today's generation, all of you, those who are viewers, I'm sure you have heard of dating applications like Tinder or Bumble or many other things. Like these are heteronormative and they are cisgender orientations. Now, when we talk about genders, we also have to think of what about the other genders? Do they also have accounts or mobile applications of their own? Yes, they do also have. The LGBT population have their own accounts. For example, the gay and bisexual men have Grindr, Blued, and Planet Romeo. The transgenders have accounts like #open, Timey, Butterfly, Ladyboy Kisses. And the lesbians also have something like Lex, Bounce, The League, and many other. This is how the whole modus operandi of the dating applications work. Now, when we talk about self-commodification, you are trying to put your best thing forward by acquiring a relationship over here. Now, what one of the theorists, Zizek, says that they argue that love do not function like this. You might get lost, but love do not function like this. The love always looks for endearing a certain kind of foibles. There should be some flaws. If you think of Macbeth, if you think of Othello, everyone had a flaw. So those characters, those flaws are important in your life also. To get love, those flaws have to be endured. Those flaws, if you endure, then automatically self-commodification goes down. If you are fat and people are liking someone is liking you, automatically delineates your scope of becoming more into long-term relationship. But these applications do not help you that. And also other side of the story is when we think of OTT platforms, we see that the gender display of OTT platforms has gone beyond what we say is gender display that you see in normal cinema theaters or movies. OTT does not bother about that. They display everything. Things which is censored in other films are not there. Now, this is where the whole idea of, then what happens is the whole idea of cybercrime begins. And now, when we talk about cyber crimes, there are cyber laws also. Suppose you have put up an information and your photograph has been morphed by someone. There is a law, there is a section 66A where you can be filing a case against the culprit to see what exactly is the person doing. Under section 66, there are several laws where the voyeurism, where phishing, the spoofing, ransom, hacking, trolling, all this can be placed into. Therefore, you have to think very cautiously what you are placing in today's new media world, what you are putting forward, whether you are putting forward about yourself, what information you filter and what you give to the audiences, to the people who are following you, are friends with you, or likes to you, allows you. That is very important. So today we have just talked about the gender and cyber relationships, cyberspaces, a bit of Unit 18. We'll talk more about it in another session. Thank you very much, all of you, all the viewers. Namaste and good evening.